Hi guys, how's it going? I hope you're all well and I hope you're having a fantastic start to the month so far. So apologies that this is not a live webinar. Basically, I'm very pressed for time this month. I've got a lot of events, hence the scrape back here at the moment that I've got lots of planning going on, from the photo shoots to just personal things going on. 53 of you now to look after. You name it, I'm doing it. So forgive me for doing it more as a recorded chat to you guys this way. But I still want to be able to find that time to educate you all. So I thought while I've got this spare hour on a Monday night, I would go through a few things. So I'm going to talk about beverages today and drinks, and sort of safe consumption of things. Okay. So this is going to involve things like energy drinks, caffeine, what are good ways to energize you, pre-workouts, that kind of stuff. And we're talking about hydration as well, and kind of overcome the stress levels of it. So forgive me on this, quite a technical one for me, and I don't know the complete ins and outs, but I've been just doing a bit of reading and a bit of going over everything. So bear with me. I've got things up on my screen for me to read, loads of notes where I've watched videos on like energy drinks and stuff. So for us all, we do have days where we're struggling with either whether it's mental stimulation to get work done, we're a bit more in a lull and we're a bit tired, or we need that little bit of an extra push for a workout, all that kind of stuff. Or for those of you who are, say, doing a night shift, sometimes you resort to going to caffeine to be able to kind of cope with it and deal with it. So I'm just going to go over the ins and outs of it. Don't expect you to remember everything. Okay, you know, it's a lot to remember. Okay, so let's go over the first things first in terms of caffeine. Okay, so caffeine is a stimulant. You know, it is technically a drug, I suppose you can say. And moderate consumption of it is fine on a daily basis. So they say no more than 400 milligrams of that. It's a safe consumption per day. Now, granted, how many of us probably go over that? So what is that equivalent to? That is about the same amount you would see in 4 cups of strong coffee. Okay, so as long as you're not hitting above that, I think that's okay. If you're drinking a sufficient amount of water, then you're on to a winner there. The other thing is monitoring your caffeine intake, because it can increase levels of anxiety. And so that's one thing to really think about with that. So if you're starting to feel a bit jittery, a bit more, like anxiety levels starting to rise or whatever, or it's contributing worse towards stress levels, then I really say reevaluate what you are doing there. So just monitor it. So if you start to notice things like in terms of from a mental health perspective, for starters, if you notice that that's on the decline, then I would say perhaps it may be worth looking at monitoring or reducing your caffeine consumption to go with that. It's just my top tip. The other thing is are you prioritizing water? Okay, so that transitions over into hydration and water. Okay, so no matter what, on a day that's like resting, you're at home, not really doing a huge amount, you're not getting sweaty, etc., etc., I want you drinking at least 2 liters. Okay, that is like an average amount. Now, granted, yes, we're all different shapes, we're all different sizes, but 2 liters is quite a nice sort of rough area to go by. Even if it is above what your body really needs, it's not at a dangerous level that it's going to be a bad impact. I'm just going to shut my door. I think I'm waking my son up. So days that you are exercising, you need to be drinking at least an additional litre of water on top of that. So if you've had a really sweaty session like I did today with legs, you want to be more looking at minimum 3 litres to really help that. Now, if you're like me and drink quite a lot of like black coffees, or the occasional energy drink, you're going to want to make sure that you are still flushing your system out properly with water. So keep at that. If you're working night shifts you're struggling to stay awake, or your energy levels are slumping and all that kind of jazz, then I say drink more water. It's really going to help that. It's also going to help if your hunger levels start to rise and stuff, and you're trying to control how much you're consuming at night. Think about your water consumption there as well. Really bring it up. For those of you who are cabin crew, there's quite a lot of you on this team. It's probably about 75% of you, if not more, are cabin crew or flight crew. And say like you have a day where you're on an aircraft for more than 6 or 7 hours, I'd want you to be more drinking 4 liters that day of water just to flush it out. Your body is dehydrating majorly. So one of you guys sent me a load of links to sort of what the environment is like on an aircraft, particularly on a 787, so a newer Boeing aircraft. And the new 737s are very similar as well because they're very new, and they have the same in terms of humidity and stuff like that. They're still equivalent to being as dry as a desert. So they're still going to dehydrate you a lot. They're not as bad as the others, but they're still bad. So although it's not set black and white and studied by a certain university, shall we say, and it's a definite thing, there are people who have done some form of research through into that. And that says to me, we need to be drinking a lot more water when we're flying, whether it's for a holiday, for work, whatever. Drinking lots of water is going to help your body. When your body starts to retain water, particularly with flying, it's storing that water because it's getting dehydrated. It's trying to start going into almost like a survival mode, is the best way I can put it in simplest terms. Keep flushing it out and you're going to feel better. Now, I'm not saying start drinking like 6 or 7 liters. I'm not expecting you to start drowning yourself in water. Just to the point where basically your pee is nice and clear and a very faint yellow. Sorry, but best way I can put it. Anywho, so we've done that about water, state the obvious. Now then, let's go into energy drinks because this is quite complicated. I'm going to be honest, it's quite difficult for me to kind of go over this as thoroughly as possible because I'm not a nutritionist, okay? I'm not a dietitian, so I'm not that great at this. I'm not a scientist as well. Funny that. But after listening to someone who is a qualified nutritionist, it was very interesting to hear a few pinpoints that he made. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to show you what it is that I saw. So this is for, the White Monster energy drink. It's incredibly popular with a lot of us, myself included. I have had this drink a lot of times, but I want to kind of pinpoint that moderation is key and not to have this too often. Okay. So I then go down and I look up the ingredients, okay, and what's going on here. So carbonated water, fine, acid, citric acid, okay, taurine. Now, that was what I wanted to, I was listening into what that means. It's apparently, from what I'm reading here, it is an amino acid, and it kind of gives you that energy. Now, apparently there were rumors that it's from bulls and it's not vegan friendly, but it actually is. So there is that. Because this is going to make everything slow down. Oh, anyway. So, I've lost it now. This is going well. Here we go. So, taurine, yeah, it is one of those sort of amino acids that can give you quite a good source of energy. The other thing that I wanted to show was you've got ginseng root extract. So I don't know a huge amount from it, but from listening to this guy talking, where is it? I'll get it up. He was saying, where is it? I can't even find it now. That's really helpful when you're trying to do a video. God, I wrote so much down. Ginseng is great for unleashing stored energy basically in your body. So it's a great way for your body to be able to do that. Now, it says here sweeteners. Sucralose is not a good thing. From what he kept saying, it really, if you had a huge consumption of this, it can mess, if you're worried about your gut bacteria, it can actually apparently really mess with that. Okay. Then you got caffeine here. It doesn't really say a huge amount about caffeine. Then you've got L-carnitine. Okay, right. So this and basically this is a fake version, but carnitine, from what I read, is an amino acid that transports fatty acids into what's called the mitochondria. So that's what creates energy stored in your muscles, shall we say. So that is normally like, if you can get a better source of that, that's good. But when it's got L in front of it, that means it's like, it's a chemical that goes into your body, and your body then converts it into carnitine to then encourage you to release some more energy. So that's what I read on that. But apart from that, what was it also said? So vitamins, the only thing I would say is where it says vitamins like B3, B5, B6, B12, I don't know what forms of vitamins they're really putting in there, and are they actually at how much is actually in there in terms of grams. Is it really going to make much of an impact? Now, things like vitamin B12 especially, so it's one of those sort of things, can you argue, is it really a real thing or not? I'm not sure. Okay, so I'll go back onto the big screen. Ooh. So bear with me, obviously I'm still trying to learn this, but I thought I'd talk about it while it's like processing in my brain. So the other thing that really got me and really surprised me was when it says hundreds of natural flavors. So basically, when something says natural flavors, so a lot of fizzy pop, for example, does put that in there. There are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. And according to what I was listening to and reading, a lot of them are not FDA approved. Now, to me, Americans allow a lot more compared to us in the UK or in Europe. If they're not FDA approved, it kind of makes you go, do I really want to touch that? So just be very, very careful when you read that, okay? Just apparently he said if natural flavors comes quite high in the ingredients section, he said avoid it. Be very careful with that. He did also keep talking about insulin spiking, blah, 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 but he seemed to be a very pro keto guy. So I kind of disregarded that because that's not what we're about. We're not about ketogenic diets. We're not about fasting, all that kind of stuff. We don't do that in the Crew Fitness team. So a lot of you have heard of the energy drink Bang. It's quite a big one. And a lot of them do seem to claim that they have essential amino acids in them. But they did also have a very high content of natural flavors. So he said he highly recommends avoiding Bang, or, you know, where you have it every now and then, but don't have it too often. That's just what he was saying. By the way, if anyone wants to watch the video, I'm happy to send the link so you can see this. Okay. So we've talked about sucralose, the fact that that can mess with your gut bacteria, and that is basically like a form of a sweetener. So you need to be careful with that. Anyway, so the other thing is Red Bull comes up a lot. Okay, now a lot of you do drink Red Bull. I know that, and quite a few of you drink it very, very regularly. So he said it's very high in very basic stimulants. And quite high in sweeteners again. So it's one of these sort of things I would say, bring it down a notch. Out of all of them, it's probably the least good one for you. So from what I'm reading, what's available in the UK at the moment, I need to do a bit more research on this. If I was to go to a canned energy drink, I would be more swayed towards that Monster energy drink at the moment, purely down to just what is available. yet it does have a couple of those sweeteners in it, which are a bit dodgy, shall we say, and a few fake bits put in there. Okay. What else was there? Can help transmit energy. So there was another thing that he mentioned, coenzyme, which apparently I think you can get as a supplementation, but I wouldn't rush out to get it if I were you. But it's helps transmit energy again for your body. So a lot of people use this for mental stimulation for work purposes, or if you're an entrepreneur and you want to push yourself a bit further. Some people look into this a bit more. So he says it's very good for cognitive development. So it's called coenzyme. But I'm not expecting you guys to rush out there and get it. So some energy drinks do have that. The other energy drink that he did mention was Rockstar. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard that. A lot of you go to America as well, and they definitely sell it here and in the States. He said one thing that the ingredients in Rockstar that stood out for me was he said it's likely to make you feel more bloated. Now, I can't remember what the chemical was that he said, but he said you're likely to get bloated from that. So that's Rockstar, just so you know. Now he also said you're better off going towards a organic caffeine. So if it's an organic caffeine, it will normally say on a label of something. So where can you get natural caffeine from? Coffee beans and green tea and tea leaves is your best bet. I did do a quick Google just to make sure if there was any others. You got things like cocoa beans as well, although I can't. So you could say, I suppose you could kind of argue that in dark chocolate you might be onto one there. But yeah, it's kind of more, I would say, like coffee, like black, a nice rich coffee from the source of a coffee bean is going to be much better for you. He says it's less likely to give you a nasty crash afterwards, whereas these fake caffeine, as it were, or an altered caffeine, which is a chemical, like he's basically saying in a lot of these energy drinks, including that Monster energy drink, to be fair, you're likely to get a really nasty crash after you've had that high in stimulation from it. He was going on a lot about green tea extract is amazing. So you can get green tea extracts in like supplements and stuff. No harm in that. You could take that with your vitamins in the morning, things like that. That could really help you. So if you've got a really good, nutritious diet, so you're getting all of your vitamins and minerals, you're getting all your protein in and stuff like that, you're on to a winner anyway. But if you want that added oomph, green tea extract can be really, really good for that. Now, there was one ingredient that was mentioned, and it's called agave nectar. Never heard of it, I'm going to be honest, but apparently this is quite common in energy drinks. And he said, whatever you do, avoid it. And that's agave or agave, I don't even know. From what I read and saw in this is they said that it goes straight to your liver and can be used as fat storage. So it basically, in theory, can promote that, apparently. Now, what was interesting, and I didn't know about this, was something called theanine. Okay, so apparently this is a great thing to have with caffeine. So with caffeine, you get that stimulants to you, you become more alert, you're going to smash a workout, you're going to do really well at work, whatever, you've got that stimulant. But theanine helps calm your mind, takes away the jitteriness, and I suppose you could say, keeps you a bit more level-headed. So it's quite a good thing to take with it. Now, some energy drinks out there, the ones that claim they're cleaner, can sometimes have that, or apparently you can buy it online. It's not something that I would go out and just rush to do personally, but I'm just giving you the science facts that I've been listening to. I promise you the science will be over soon, I promise. I say the science, really shit facts coming from me, probably. So there was another thing he said, what was argine? Argine. See, I'm doing really well here. Apparently that helps deliver oxygen and nutrients to your muscles. So that's what gets you that sort of pump on. Okay. And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. So yeah, argine's pretty good. Then you've got something called beta adenine. Okay, so this is quite often what you would feel or get that sensation from things like pre-workout and stuff. And you can feel tingly, you can feel a bit jittery, and you've just got to get moving. You've got to do your shit. You've got to get on with it. So you see a lot of people that have had pre-workout and stuff that happen. That's beta adenine. So as I take that with a pinch of salt, how you would want to have a pre-workout and stuff. Now, pre-workouts are incredibly powerful drinks. There are many chemicals in that again, I don't remember the words, I'm sorry. But they can cause things like a weird rash to come up in you. You become all red, you become all tingly in your fingers. It's very common. And it's quite hard to find for some people a pre-workout that doesn't do that for them. Some people are fine with it, but some people, they just can't do it. And that's why I'm always a little bit hesitant with pre-workouts, because of just the amount of shit that's normally in them. Normally, the cheaper they are, they're more likely to be very damaging. I just would personally avoid. So yeah, the last thing I want to kind of go on over what was mentioned here was matcha green tea. Now, I've never tried it, so I don't know what it's like. I think I had matcha tea years ago and it was all right. Now, matcha green tea is getting that theanine, the one that kind of calms your mind, but it's also got natural caffeine. So it's actually apparently an amazing sort of stimulant or pre-workout. Apparently it has all of that. And also green tea and green tea extracts and stuff, they have what's called AMPK. And basically encourages the fat that's stored in your body to be converted into energy. So quite a nice thing to have like mid-morning or something like that, or before you go out for a walk. That could be a really, really good thing to take. So apparently green tea extracts, green tea, matcha green tea, very, very good. So things to take away from this is like theanine is actually a good thing. If you see that in an ingredient, that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Try and go towards more natural caffeine sources. But I also want to put out there that if you're going to have an energy drink, don't freak out if it's literally like the one-off and you don't have them often. If you are having these drinks on a very regular basis, then I do strongly recommend that you either lower your consumption or think about making some alternatives and some changes there. Okay. At the end of the day also is when I said about things like caffeine consumption, we have to control it because it can make us feel jittery. It can make us kind of go, we've had a bit of an overdose almost on caffeine. It can also, like I say, affect your mental health. So you have to really find that balance for you. So you have to be very, very careful. So that's why I personally would prefer to stick to coffee from my coffee machine where I grind the beans every day. I just know it's from a healthier source. I know it's from a better source. And then to avoid things like UTIs or whatever, or having gut problems, I will then drink a lot of water as well. Okay, granted, there are days where I am going to go towards like a Monster energy drink. But like I say, it's got things like ginseng in it. It's got, I don't know whether the vitamins are real ones or fake ones. I don't know. But it has got some things in there that will give you that drive if you need it for a workout. It's a give or take. So moderation is key. Yeah. Probably the most unhelpful webinar, that one. The other thing is obviously state the obvious, alcohol consumption. Okay. So we all know our limits. We all know when maybe we need to cut down on it. So I'm not going to teach you to suck eggs on that one, because we get told it by our doctors and we see it on the news, we see it on TV adverts. So I don't need to go into it too much. But I'm all about, if you can leave it to the weekend, then leave it to the weekend. It can become an unhealthy habit. And also, it's quite a nice, more of a treat to enjoy. So say if you're a real wine drinker, save it for a weekend and really, really savoring that moment and really enjoying the flavors from it. Surely that's better than constantly drinking. Okay. Also, when you consume alcohol, can guarantee that your workouts the following day probably won't be to their absolute best. Now, if you're having like, a little bit, I'm sure it wouldn't be drastically different, but I personally find a massive difference in my sessions. If I've drunk alcohol the day before, I feel more sluggish, I feel tired, I sleep badly. That's the other thing, is alcohol can affect your sleep quality. So really consider that. And that's why I say try and have a moderate to low level of alcohol, because it will benefit you in the long run. And last but not least, say like you are on a fat loss journey. Now, I'm not saying cut out alcohol completely, because you could have like a wedding coming up, a birthday, an anniversary, a holiday. Those are the times to enjoy having a drink. Or if you just want to have a glass of Prosecco or two on a Friday evening because you've worked your arse off all week, you've hit all your targets, you're feeling great, and you just want to have a glass or two, you can, okay? If it was every day, and say like you were I put you in a calorie deficit and you were consuming alcohol on a daily basis, I would question it, because I personally feel, well, maybe there are people out there who would disagree with me, but I personally feel it's kind of a waste of calories that you could use to put those nutrients into your body so you continue to see results, you feel great, you feel more energized. End of the day, alcohol has absolutely no nutritional benefit to you. It's just fun. It is fun. So would you not prefer, say like you are trying to lose weight, and while you got nothing on, why would you want to then just waste 150 to 250 calories worth on drink when you could have probably had a nice dessert after your dinner, or that chocolate bar, or can you tell I got sweet, like I got a bit of a sweet tooth. There are plenty of other things you could do. Or you're breaking the stigma where people think you have to have a fasted morning, and you don't have to, by the way. Not on my program anyway. I'm not a fan of it, but you could then go, oh, well, I've actually got that for breakfast. So yeah, so I'm going to stop it there. I feel like I've probably bombarded you with a lot of things, but one thing I want you to take away is just, it's about moderation is key. Really think about what's going on in your energy drinks. I'm struggling to find one that's actually okay to have all the time on a regular basis, except for if it's a natural source. So I would more steer towards the natural sources if you can. And then every now and then, I'm talking every now and then, an actual energy drink is fine. But on a daily basis, nah. Anyway, people, thank you so much for listening, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take it easy.